The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward. Our team has had at this point more than 3,285 individuals contact us, with people claiming to have been victimized by Shawn Combs.
Buckle up, guys. Today we are diving into a courtroom drama that shattered the image of one of music's biggest moguls. The walls of silence are crumbling as victims come forward, totaling thousands claiming abuse. Tension is already thick in the courtroom, but no one was prepared for what happened next. Diddy, once untouchable, faces a wave of lawsuits that reveal shocking allegations spanning years. This isn't just a case, it's a storm that shakes the very foundation of his empire. Each new claim exposes deeper layers of a hidden world few imagined. The courtroom's atmosphere is electric, every eye fixed on the unfolding chaos. By the end of this part, the first cracks in his armor are undeniable.
He wasn't kidding when he announced that he plans to file a wave of lawsuits on behalf of 120 alleged sexual assault victims of Shawn Combs. He wasn't bluffing. And as he has said, he's not only going after Combs, but corporate entities too. And we reported to you how last week he filed 6 lawsuits, and now he has just filed a bunch more. I'll give you an example. We have one lawsuit now where a woman who claims she was drugged and raped by Combs during a Las Vegas event back in 2014. We have other claims that are more recent, by the way. These allegations are all from 2022. A businessman who claims that Combs sexually assaulted him during a Ciroc party back in 2022. A woman who claims she was drugged and raped by Combs at a house party in Manhattan back in 2022. Another man who claims he was drugged and repeatedly sexually assaulted by Combs and others, including an unnamed celebrity. This at an award show after party in LA back in 2022. But the one we want to focus on right now is a very, very disturbing claim. As if all of these aren't disturbing, but this one is especially heinous because I think the best way to describe this is the very first paragraph of this new lawsuit. It reads, in the complaint, defendant Combs drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl at a house party. Many others were present but did nothing to stop it. Some participated in it. Combs has been allowed for years to conduct himself in this manner without any consequences. He believes he is above the law. He is not. Yeah. Now again, I've said this before, while Combs is currently facing federal criminal charges of racketeering and sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution, none of those criminal charges are related to minors. However, a number of these lawsuits, including from Tony Busby, they focused on the alleged abuse of underage people. And it makes you wonder if Combs will be hit with a superseding indictment. That means when you go back to the grand jury for additional or revised charges, will Combs be hit with a superseding indictment that involves minors? Have to ask the question in light of these allegations. You have to wonder if any of the people who have sued Combs, are they cooperating with the government? You have to wonder if the government really has all the evidence they need to charge him with respect to minors, but maybe they're not doing so yet. Maybe they're keeping it in their back pocket for now. Maybe to push Combs to take a plea. Maybe they're only now getting this information and are authenticating it to bring these claims, to bring new charges. We don't know if their case will ever be about minors. I will tell you one thing. If minors come into the mix, it makes Shawn Combs' defense to the federal criminal charges he's facing much more difficult. His defense right now is everything was consensual. When you're dealing with minors, that defense doesn't work anymore. And by the way, as we're talking about high-profile people, as we're talking about unnamed celebrities in these lawsuits, including the one I'm about to get into, remember what Tony Busby told TMZ. He said that a number of high-profile people have even come to him already to settle their claims so they are not named in these lawsuits. It makes you wonder if the people that he mentions in these lawsuits are people who've already settled their claims, so they're not named as defendants, they're not identified. I mean, if you think about it, that would be a PR and legal nightmare if they're named in these lawsuits. Even though these are just allegations, the fact that they would be tied to Shawn Combs right now, who's toxic, they might be avoiding that. So,
all right, guys, in this section the focus turns to the most disturbing claims. Among dozens of allegations, one involves a minor, a 13-year-old girl, whose account paints a chilling picture. Combs' decades of influence allowed him to act without consequences, until now. The courtroom felt the weight of these allegations, raising questions about potential superseding indictments. Even his defense, which hinges on consent, cannot apply here. High-profile figures quietly settle, avoiding public exposure. The moment forces everyone to confront how power can shield wrongdoing. The tension is palpable as the reality of the accusations sinks in. Each revelation threatens to dismantle the carefully built image of invincibility.
Combmes celebrating after learning his long-awaited fate in court. The family staying stoic as they enter Diddy's courthouse July 2nd, before departing with smiles and waves after hearing the media mogul's partial victory, not guilty on 3 out of the 5 counts, covering charges for racketeering and sex trafficking. Per NBC News reporters inside the courtroom, Diddy's loved ones were seen celebrating the results of his now winding down legal saga. The Bad Boy Records founder is facing 2 convictions, both surrounding prostitution offenses. NBC News noting Diddy's son Christian King Combs said his dad was feeling great about the verdicts, with Diddy reportedly telling his gathered family, "Thank you. Love you." Chance Combs spotted seemingly wiping away tears alongside her grandma, who gave a thumbs up to the media frenzy outside the Manhattan courthouse, following weeks of putting up a united front for Diddy, who maintained his innocence across all charges.
Years old at the time, as if these allegations couldn't get worse. Now, we've been closely following the legal drama that's been stalking Shawn Combs, and right now, as we know, he's locked up in the Metropolitan Detention Center out in Brooklyn. He's been denied bond twice. His attorneys, though, they plan to try for a 3rd time to get him out of lockup as he waits for trial. He's now going to be petitioning the new judge overseeing this case, Judge Arun Subramanian. And we actually just learned that when it comes to where he's locked up, multiple agencies are investigating the Metropolitan Detention Center, the MDC, maybe looking into the conditions, maybe doing a sweep of contraband in the area. We did actually a whole sidebar episode dedicated to that because the circumstances in that facility are pretty horrific. And we were wondering whether or not Shawn Combs and the notoriety of his case has facilitated or has led to this investigation. We talked about it. You can check it out on our Long Crime YouTube channel. It should be up there right now. Now, as we get into these latest developments, I have to warn you. I have to give you a trigger warning here. These details are not only unimaginable, but they're horrifying. They're horrifying. They can be incredibly difficult to listen to. I gotta tell you, I was reading these lawsuits and I even winced because it's so just disgusting. It's incredibly disturbing. But look, this is a legal case now. And it's important to understand what the victims are alleging, the legal basis for their claims, what evidence they may have to support their claims, and the impact that this could have on Shawn Combs and, of course, his criminal case. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about it. Now, before we even get into the actual claims of this lawsuit, I have to give you a brief background about where we're at. So a grand jury in the Southern District of New York indicted Shawn Combs on federal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He was arrested on September 16th. He's been, as I said, behind bars ever since after being denied bail. And prosecutors say that Combs used his money, his influence, to organize what are called freak-offs. These are essentially orgies that involved hiring male sex workers, procuring drugs, and then filming these sex acts. That he used force, fraud, coercion, to get what he wanted, that he engaged in a campaign.
Buckle up, guys, because this part reveals a shocking betrayal. The people Diddy believed would always support him, his own daughters, step onto the stand. The courtroom shifts instantly, jurors lean in, cameras capture every expression, and Diddy's confident mask falters. Their voices crack at first but then grow stronger, recounting hidden moments of manipulation and control. This isn't hearsay. These are first-hand accounts, deeply personal and devastating. The words strip away the glamour, revealing the darker reality behind fame. Even the judge leans forward, attentive to the gravity. For Diddy, this is a turning point, the moment family becomes witness, truth over loyalty.
After Combs' arrest on federal sex crimes charges, Brown posted on Instagram In a nutshell, Kimberly was allegedly taken from us because she was set on course to accomplish what Mrs. Cassie Ventura did by igniting the bonfire, which brings us here today. Ventura, of course, is Combs' ex-girlfriend who filed that initial sexual assault, sex trafficking lawsuit against Shawn Combs last year. It spiraled into multiple other lawsuits and arguably spiraled into these charges that he's now facing today. And Brown wrote, "I'm writing this post to formally request an investigation into an entire group of individuals who worked at or around the residence of Miss Kimberly Porter." And he called her death a tragic murder. Now, interestingly, there are reports that Albie Shore has even taken more security measures after asking for an investigation. In fact, he was presented an award at the American Liver Foundation's National Legacy Gala in New York. And in his speech, he says, "We even have Homeland Security in the building. Detective Jackson, good to see you." Not entirely sure what he's talking about, what he's referencing, but considering it was Homeland Security that raided Shawn Combs' properties in LA and Miami and collected all that evidence that federal prosecutors are now using in their criminal case against him, interesting comment to make. Now, Gene Deal, this is Combs' former bodyguard, spoke on the Art of Deal podcast about this, and he said, "You got to realize, man, Kim's death wasn't even investigated." He went on to say, "How is it that there was no electronic products or gadgets around Kim? Be her laptop missing, her cell phone's missing, everything is missing that she could get in touch with her little girls if they're not at home, or her friends or family. All that's missing. How is it that? All that's missing. How is it that?" The detectives didn't even examine Porter's body where she passed away. And Deal emphasized, if that is true, that case needs to be reopened. And also in regards to the idea that she got a massage right before her death, he also said, who gives somebody a massage when they get pneumonia? Deal also apparently took issue with the alleged timing of buying her gold casket. He said, how you order a gold casket 2 months before somebody dies? And he even addressed Albie Shore beefing up his security. Al ain't no fool. He's smart by getting extra security. Now, with all of this as a backdrop, the last time we talked about Kim Porter on Sidebar is when a book was published on Amazon. It was entitled Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side. It is allegedly a memoir from Kim Porter herself detailing her relationship with Shawn Combs, but it reportedly contains typos, shocking claims, some are saying even inaccurate statements. In fact, Quincy Brown, Christian, Jesse Delilah Combs, they wrote in a joint statement on Instagram, "We have seen so many hurtful and false rumors circulating about our parents, Kim Porter and Shawn Combs' relationship, as well as about our mom's tragic passing, that we feel the need to speak out. Claims that our mom wrote a book are simply untrue. She did not. And anyone claiming to have a manuscript is misrepresenting themselves." And by the way, even Combs authorized his attorney Erica Wolf to release a statement on his behalf regarding the new book, stating, "The Kim Porter memoir is fake. It is also offensive, a shameless attempt to profit from tragedy. Chris Todd has no respect for Miss Porter or her family, who deserve better. Unlike the fabrications in..."
All right, guys, outside the courtroom, the storm spreads. Social media explodes with disbelief and outrage as fans react to the revelations. Memes, posts, and heated debates flood timelines, splitting public opinion. Allegations that were once whispered now dominate headlines. Family statements push back against fabricated claims, while new lawsuits add layers to the scandal. Every revelation shakes Diddy's carefully crafted brand of family and legacy. The mogul's public persona collides with private realities. The courtroom drama now extends into a global conversation, forcing fans and critics alike to reckon with the shocking magnitude of these claims. The narrative is no longer under his control.
That started the whole ball rolling with this legal saga. He has not admitted any culpability. While he did apologize on Instagram after the 2016 video of him purportedly beating Cassandra Ventura at a hotel hallway surfaced by CNN. But other than that, look, to be clear, he hasn't been found liable in any court. He hasn't been found guilty of any wrongdoing in any court. So right now, he is presumed innocent. And these are allegations. They're serious allegations, but they're allegations. But having said that, what is being put out there now in the course of these new civil lawsuits is arguably even worse than what we've heard before. It's kind of hard to judge, but let me get into this, because on Monday, Tony Busby and his legal partners, they filed a suit against Combs on behalf of a John Doe who lives in California. The lawsuit states, this case seeks compensatory and punitive damages for the drugging and sexual assault of a 10-year-old boy when he met defendant Shawn Combs for an audition. The conduct described herein is shockingly typical of how Combs conducted himself for many years. And look, that is true. Many of the allegations from Combs' accusers say they were drugged and then they were assaulted, that this is a pattern. And of course, we know when it comes to the federal charges, Combs is accused of using drugs to have people engage in those freak-off sessions. By the way, when we talk about compensatory damages, those are damages to really restore someone to whole where they were before the incident, and punitive damages are a way to punish the defendant. Okay, but back to the lawsuit. Combs isn't the only defendant named. In fact, this is very typical of a lot of the lawsuits we're seeing, because it's not just Combs, it's business entities. Because the plaintiff also alleges here misconduct by multiple companies that are associated with Shawn Combs and his entertainment empire. This includes Combs Enterprises LLC, Bad Boy Entertainment LLC, there are more. The complaint reads, on the surface, each of these businesses served a legitimate purpose related to entertainment, music, and other subjects, but in reality, Combs, by and through himself and his agents, employees, and contractors, used these businesses to sexually assault, abuse, threaten, and coerce hundreds of individuals through sexual quid pro quo schemes, as well as to take advantage of individuals with impunity, thinking the victims would never seek recourse. Combs and his agents, employees, and contractors through these Combs businesses would tell victims, this is what it takes to be famous, what are you willing to do to become a star, and perform this sexual act or else, to coerce the victim into performing a non-consensual sexual act for the gratification of Combs and his cohorts. Now again, that is very consistent with the criminal racketeering charge that Combs faces, that he used his businesses to further illegal activities like sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson. But let's talk about the specific claims from this John Doe in this lawsuit. Again, trigger warning, very difficult to listen to, but it says, quote, in 2005, plaintiff was a 10-year-old boy interested in becoming an actor and or rapper. Plaintiff lived in the Los Angeles area and used his proximity to the entertainment industry to secure several acting roles and a part in a music video. To help their son's burgeoning career, plaintiff's parents found and hired an industry consultant through an internet ad. The consultant recommended that the family visit New York City to meet with people in the music industry. During the trip, plaintiff's consultant arranged a...
Buckle up, guys, because the focus now is on a specific, chilling case, the Jane Doe lawsuit. She alleges drugging and sexual assault at a young age, adding horrifying details about parties and celebrities present. The claims mirror patterns seen in Combs' federal indictment, emphasizing systematic abuse. The involvement of his business entities, not just the man himself, paints a disturbing picture of institutionalized misconduct. Compensatory and punitive damages aim to restore victims and punish wrongdoing. The courtroom absorbs the gravity of these allegations. It's no longer abstract, it's real, with specific victims telling harrowing stories. Each detail amplifies the tension, making it impossible to look away.
The unnamed celebrity 1, unnamed celebrity 2. Anyway, we don't know exactly what's happening, but what we do know is that these allegations are a disturbing pattern regarding children. And I want to break down this lawsuit now. So this lawsuit is filed by Jane Doe, she's unnamed, and this was filed in federal court in the Southern District of New York. That is the same jurisdiction where Combs is being federally prosecuted. And in many ways, the lawsuit mirrors the allegations in the indictment. For example, the complaint reads, quote, for decades, Shawn Combs, aka P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, PD, Love, abused, molested, raped, assaulted, threatened, and coerced women, minors, and others for sexual gratification to assert dominance and to conceal his abhorrent conduct. He accomplished these acts by and through a criminal enterprise built on his success as a rapper, record producer, and record executive. Again, very similar to the language that was used in the indictment to describe the racketeering conspiracy charge that he faces, that he allegedly operated and controlled this criminal enterprise to carry out various crimes like sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping. Those terms are actually both in this complaint and in the indictment. And I'm going to get into the other defendants who are being sued in this lawsuit besides Combs in a second, but I do want to call out a unique aspect to this lawsuit. And in fact, it's a unique aspect not just to this suit, but the other Tony Buzbee lawsuits. They almost use the same beginning language, the same preface, talking about Shawn Combs' illegal empire, talking about the, quote, pervasive history of sexual assault and violence. So it's not even directly addressing the individual plaintiff's claims yet. It's kind of setting the stage to understand who the defendant is, the power that he wielded, the alleged danger and threat that he is, maybe as a way to explain why these defendants did not come forward initially with their claims. For example, this lawsuit reads, Combs' recurrent and pervasive physical abuse took place for multiple decades. His tendencies of violence and sexual assault were well known amongst his colleagues, employees, agents, and businesses. On numerous occasions from at least in or about 1996 and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women and men by striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. Combs also assaulted children both physically and sexually. In 1996, Combs was found guilty of criminal mischief for threatening a photographer from the New York Post with a gun. In 1999, he was arrested and charged with second-degree assault and criminal mischief in connection with assaulting a record executive. By the way, I just have to call something out. Even besides those last legal cases that I just mentioned in this quote, the sexual assault allegations, the sex trafficking allegations, all of this are just allegations. He hasn't been found guilty of anything yet. He hasn't been found liable with respect to any of this yet. So it is interesting that Tony Buzbee is using this language to kind of build up his case, even though, again, to be clear, Shawn Combs hasn't been found guilty and hasn't been found liable with respect to any of this, and he's been denying this. Anyway, and to couple that, the lawsuit also lays out all of the civil suits from the past year from Cassandra Van.
All right, guys, here's where the case gets more complex. The lawsuit extends beyond Combs himself to his business empire, Bad Boy Entertainment, Daddy's House, and others. Allegedly, these entities were used to coerce and exploit individuals through promises of fame. The claims describe sexual quid pro quo, manipulation, and threats, showing a system built to exploit. It mirrors racketeering charges, reinforcing patterns of abuse. Every testimony exposes how deep and structured the alleged crimes were. The courtroom energy spikes as lawyers present documents, and the jurors absorb the scale of the operation. This is no longer just an individual's misconduct, it's an alleged empire-wide exploitation.
Signed it, but she wasn't given a copy. So then she says she goes inside, and she describes the scene inside the house as being filled with many celebrities, there were drinks, there was loud music, there was drug use like marijuana and cocaine. And then this is where she says things took a very dark turn. Quote, plaintiff accepted a drink, a reddish yellow mixture that tasted like orange juice, cranberry juice, and something bitter. After drinking just one drink, plaintiff began to feel woozy and lightheaded, making her need to lie down. And embedded in this complaint is what Jane Doe claims is a photograph of an actual, quote, exemplary container that she says Combs or his associates used to inject GHB into these drinks. The complaint continues, looking for a place to rest, plaintiff entered what she believed to be an empty bedroom so she could lie down for a moment. She did not lock the door. Soon after, Combs, along with a male and female celebrity, entered the room. Combs aggressively approached plaintiff with a crazed look in his eyes, grabbed her, and said, "You are ready to party." Combs then threw plaintiff toward another male celebrity, Celebrity A, again unnamed, who removed plaintiff's clothes as she grew more and more disoriented. Plaintiff was held down by Celebrity A, who raped her while Combs and Celebrity B, a female, watched. After the male celebrity finished, Combs then raped plaintiff while the Celebrity A and Celebrity B watched. Combs attempted to force plaintiff to perform oral sex on him, but she resisted by hitting Combs in the neck. He stopped. Plaintiff grabbed her clothes and shoes and left the bedroom, roaming naked through the house looking for the exit as the party continued. That means there were witnesses to see what happened here. Once outside, plaintiff put her clothes back on and left the scene in the dark. Eventually, plaintiff reached a gas station A female clerk noticed her distressed and allowed her to use the phone. Plaintiff called her father and admitted that she had lied about her whereabouts and asked him to pick her up. After the assault, plaintiff fell into a deep depression, which continues to affect every facet of her life. Okay, so clearly a very, very disturbing account, but it's on par with the other allegations that we've heard about Combs. Parties, alleged drugging, followed by sexual assault. Now, of course, as I said, these are allegations. Of course, Combs will have an opportunity to defend himself. And from a legal point of view, I wonder if his attorneys could argue, well, she claims she was drugged and disoriented. How exactly does she remember all these details? How does she remember all of this? Is she able to remember all of this 24 years later? And of course, there are obviously a lot of counter responses to that put forward by Jane Doe. But the point is, Combs will probably assert a defense that this did not happen. Now, in the lawsuit, Jane Doe not only sues Shawn Combs, but also several Combs businesses, their entities like Daddy's House Recording Studio Inc. and Bad Boy Entertainment. The lawsuit reads, Combs' business enterprise is central to the pervasive acts of sexual assault and abuse committed by him during the last decades. On the surface, each of these businesses served a legit...
Buckle up, guys, this is the moment everything crumbles. Diddy's daughters finish their testimonies, stripping away the last shred of credibility he had. His composure is gone, he slumps in his chair, trembling and defeated. The courtroom, the media, and the world witness the collapse of a mogul once thought untouchable. Allegations, lawsuits, and betrayals converge, marking a turning point in his career and legacy. This isn't just about legal consequences, it's the irreversible loss of family trust. Every camera catches the moment he cracks, leaving an indelible mark on history. Like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.